Welcome to today's webinar on Oracle Planning for Modern Canadian Business. We've got myself as a presenter. Introducing myself, my name is Rick Anthony. I'm the SVP here at Mastech. I've got been 5 years here at Mastech, and we've got 25 years of implementing Oracle applications. And today is going to be a good conversation about how we can use Oracle's EPM planning for specific areas. And we'll also have a demo. So if we can go to the next slide, Arun. So if you can just introduce yourself, Arun, and then we can discuss the other areas of the agenda.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining in for this webinar. My name is Arun Sunkara. I lead the practice of EPM for Mastech, and I've been associated with the organization now for close to a decade. And yeah, anything related to planning, budgeting, consolidation, costing is something that interests me.
Excellent, thank you, Arun. So we'll also be discussing who is Mastech, and we've got a couple slides on that. And then we're going to go straight into the demo of actually using the application. We'll have a Q&A discussion, and in the you'll see in the panel on the bottom, you'll have ability to ask questions as we continue through the presentation. I encourage you to do so. And the last area we'll discuss is our fixed scope offering. So something that we put together for Canada and Canada customers that is a way for them to enter into the EPM and planning and budgeting market. So let's go into who is Mastech first. Go to the next slide there. So we've got a couple of customers here in Canada. So we've got Lululemon, we got Cooperators, we got Raymond Cabot, Grant Thornton, and we've actually got a few others, but these are just a few of those. And with Oracle EPM customers on a global basis, we have well over 175, and that actually keeps growing. We've got 2 more new customers to the EPM space within the last 2 weeks here. Let's go to the next slide, and we'll cover a little on the Mastech overview. So Mastech is a company that's been around well over 40 years now. And this is the Oracle division within Mastech, which is about 15 years old, 16 years old, actually. And we've got about 5,800 customers and about 3,000 Oracle consultants on a global basis. So we aren't a boutique shop, we are a global SI. And we've got well over 1,300 Oracle Cloud customers. And that, again, continues to grow. In the far right-hand corner, you can see what type of customers we have in those particular areas. We cover all of the Oracle technology disciplines for SaaS, so ERP, supply chain, HCM, EPM, which we'll be discussing today, CX, and analytics, and other innovations. We're a full-service Oracle provider, and we've been recognized by Oracle a number of times for Global Partner of the Year for ERP as well as HCM. Let's go to the next slide. And we'll jump right into the demonstration with Arun.
Thanks for that, Rick. Just bear with me for a second whilst I start sharing my screen. You may see a blank screen or maybe a black screen. Don't think of it as a technical issue. It's just me switching screens.
No, we can see it.
Brilliant. Yeah, so to begin with, firstly, I'd like to just introduce the product. So Oracle EPM, it stands for Oracle Enterprise Performance Management. Basically, it's a suite of product that covers all of your analytical and data modeling needs. Our focus today is this application called Oracle Planning. And Oracle Planning's core capabilities are around budgeting, forecasting, financial analysis, financial modeling, strategic modeling, any sort of analysis that enables you in making better decisions for the business. On the screen right now, I've got the home page of the application, Oracle Planning, and on the left-hand side over here, you can see a good announcement that says that the 2024 fiscal year planning process will conclude on Friday. Now, that's just a notification to all of the users to just give, a heads up of the deadlines that are set up in the application. These are quite flexible announcements, and you can set them up as per your needs, and you can also timestamp them, which means that you can schedule these announcements to automatically appear based on the dates and times. One of the key features, of the application that shows its easy user interface is this recent section. So anything that you were working on quite recently, it automatically appears over here. And we always have been in a situation, right, where we start working on something, but then we get dragged into something else, and then we have to again, go back to what we were working on. And the recent section is quite helpful in that scenario. And if there's something that you work on quite often in the application, you can just mark them as favorite, as I'm just doing, and then they'll appear in the favorite section. But that's some easy housekeeping or easy user interface features of the application. But what does planning and budgeting offer to yourselves is this strong core capability that we see in the top row. So it can perform strategic modeling for you. It can take care of all of your financial budgeting and forecasting. Similarly, it can help you with your project budgeting and forecasting, capital budgeting and forecasting, and one of the key pain areas of all the organization, which is workforce planning and budgeting. For today's demonstration, I'll kind of show you how the revenue and expense budgeting and forecasting process works. So to begin with, I just wanted to clarify that not everyone in the application will be able to see these icons. It's a completely security-driven application. I've logged in as an admin, and hence I can see all the processes. If your users are only supposed to see, let's say, financials or just expenses within financials, security system of the application can completely enable that level of restriction. But yeah, to begin with, let's talk about how revenue budgeting is performed in the application. So what we're looking at on the screen right now is a dashboard that gives us the summary of our revenue picture. So for the sales entity of US, reporting currency being USD, financial year, let's say being FY20, I'm able to see the total forecast of the last year, the total revenue year-on-year percentage change, the gross profit forecast for the last year, as well as the gross profit year-on-year change percentage compared to the next year. I'm just looking at historical information to kind of get a sense of how the business has been faring on our budgeting and forecasting capabilities. All of these dashboards are quite intuitive and interactive, and they're quite flexible as well, which means if you wish to change their look and feel, it's a straightforward thing. You just go to settings, and then you can select a choice of chart, and then the application would reflect that immediately. You can restrict that feature as well, as I can see some of the finance users getting quite surprised with such level of flexibility, because then you may have your users coming back and saying that, oh, this isn't working, that isn't working. Whilst it's a flexibility, you can restrict that flexibility. Similarly, at the bottom, you see we've got a few tabs over here. One of them is purely for income statement. It talks more about, all of the income statement related aspects like your sales, marketing expenses, other expenses, total revenue, margins, and things like that. And it also has an income statement trend chart, which shows you month on month, your actual, your forecast, as well as your budget. And you can toggle between, total revenue, total expenses, all, as well as, a net position. If you want to see net income basic, you can simply, do that as well. And the charts would reflect the right information for you. It's quite an easy to use application with a range of dashboards. And I understand that, dashboards are not everything, correct? We also need some analytical and calculating capabilities. So I'll also show that shortly. But yeah, you've got rolling forecast, you've got income statement rolling forecast. Some of these features are, quite strong and deliver an output that kind of enables you to take better decisions and gives you a picture in terms of, how the future looks like. Now, once you've seen all of the high level information, or once you've checked out, how your financial positions look like, you can begin by, using the driver-based revenue planning. Now, driver-based revenue planning as a feature itself is it's quite intuitive in the nature that it can bring across all the drivers that you use. And these drivers are quite flexible. The application is not restricting you to use the set of drivers it has. It kind of gives you the ability to, basically be the judge of what sort of drivers you want. So in case you want to add any driver or create a what if version, you can get the option of, doing that too. But what it's doing over here is you've got drivers against which you can set up trends. And once you've selected a trend of your choice, you can decide the percentage as well. And that's it. The application then calculates the results for you. It also automatically splits that out into periods. So if you don't want to do it on a monthly level, you can rather do it at a year total level, and the application would split that out for you. Similarly, adjustments. Now, you would always have a situation where you would say that, okay, the system generates numbers, but it's not always going to be logical, or I may not always agree with it. And therefore, the application offers you the ability of making adjustments. So against that number of $91,320, if I don't agree with that number and I feel that that's quite low, I can actually add more to it. All I have to do is just enter on that amount and then, press on the save button. What you have seen happening is the amount now then gets changed, the total amount, to 96,320. And again, the adjustment I made was on a year total level, which the application splits out automatically into the months. There can be logics in terms of how you want to split out these amounts, and what's the best way of profiling your changes. But yeah, the application has got all of it built in. One of the other good features of the application that I quite enjoy is the ability to add comments, which means that on any of these cells, if you want to provide more details and kind of explain the change that you've done, you get the ability of adding comments, which is quite incredible because it then enables you to have conversations around these numbers instead of just putting numbers there. And not just that, if you wish to provide some supplemental working papers, or let's say some email approvals, or an email conversation, just to kind of make it more meaningful in terms of what you're entering, you get the ability to add attachments too. And all these attachments and comments that you're entering over here, if you want, the application can copy them over from one period of forecasting to another. So you always get, the benefit of the application having a strong repository capability, and therefore, you're not having to enter all of this again and again. Similarly, after you've entered all of this, you get the ability to run a driver-based revenue process. So you were doing it at driver level. This time it's all at account level, where the application shows you all the calculated results and gives you the ability to make any adjustments if you wish to. And based on that, the application would identify the revenue trends and compare it with all the historical months. This is to just give you a sense of, how you've been doing your process, or how the numbers look like in the previous years, so that you can then drive how the current years look like, or whether you want to perform a what if scenario. The rest of the steps also follow the similar trend. They'll give you the ability to plan for total revenue forecast. You will be able to look at historical years, then create a plan for the future years. So in terms of flexibility wise, the application offers you a range of comparative analytics, like compare it with last year, compare it with last 5 years, or year on year quarterly growth. And then, you have complete flexibility of defining how you prepare your budgets and forecasts. So that's the strong suite of the application. And, the next few set of screens are more about completing the process of, revenue budgeting and forecasting. And as you can see at the bottom, the application continuously shows you your progress against your revenue as well as cost of sales. And you can split it out periodically as well, just so that you understand which months have been better, which months haven't been, because it's always the case, right? Some of our months are, let's say, like peak months where, the business is at its top, but then there is going to be a bit of a slowdown in some of the months. So this kind of gives you an analysis of how all of that sits together, and then perform, a calculated analysis to then drive results out of it. Now, after you've done that, if you wish to make any adjustments to the drivers, you can do that. You can look at driver-based revenue as well, which means that how individual driver is kind of generating results for your revenue. And then comes the total view of the total revenue. So this is where your process kind of is coming towards an end by performing all of the various steps that we saw, to eventually have the capability of being able to perform revenue budgeting or revenue forecasting. And you could think that, okay, the application does all of this, but do I really need it? because we have a standard process, we've got a straightforward exercise that we're performing. Yeah, we do have some collaborative challenges where someone enters something, but then when the file goes to someone else, those numbers change, and you're looking for a pretty straightforward solution, let's say. That also gets supported in the application. So the screen I'm on, it's called as direct entry screen. As the name suggests, it's basically the application giving you a blank spreadsheet and letting you decide all of the numbers. You can enter these numbers, you can enter at the parent levels, and the application will split it for you. Or you can simply upload an Excel file that says that, hey, these are my numbers, this is how the figures should look like. And the application would take recognition of that. So just to give you an example, if I change this number to, let's say, 60,000 or 6,000, for example, what the application has done it, it's kind of showing me that, okay, you entered 6,000 and I've split it out equally, but it has highlighted these cells just to give me an indication that I've just made this change, but I've not yet saved it. So I'll have to press on the save button, and that's when, all of these changes would start to reflect. So I really find it quite an incredible way of, interacting with an application, because it gives you the ability to play around with the numbers, right? So for example, you enter 6,000 and then you feel, oh, it's not working. Rather than that, I also, need to go down to the year total level and say that my figures are going to be much higher. And when you do that, it starts to reflect in, the overall numbers. And before you take a call, you can actually assess how all of it looks like, and then eventually go and press on the save button to say that, okay, I kind of agree with this number, and that's what I want. The application also has the ability of audit history, which means that if any number was changed by any individual, the application would keep a record of that. Obviously, the cell I've selected, it doesn't have any history, hence this is blank. But what you need to notice is any change that was made, the application actually captures the user who made that change. It captures the date on which that change actually happened, along with the old value and new value. So you'll never be in a situation where, someone says that, oh, I don't know who entered that number, or I really don't know who made, those changes and things like that, because it's a completely audited application. It records, all sorts of actions that users perform. And if you want, you can also export these into, an Excel spreadsheet, just in case if you want to, be nosy and kind of find out, what happened when something went wrong. But yeah, in general, that's how, the application takes its bearing and, moves forward with respect to generation of budgets and forecasts. And just like the process I explained over here, you can also perform revenue rolling forecast by direct entry, or you can do total revenue forecast, by looking at the historical years. For both forecast as well as the plan, you get the same features. And then eventually you have the total rolling forecast capabilities as well, where it can show you all of the historical numbers to kind of give you an indication of how this used to look like in the historical years. Last but not the least, any action that we perform in financial budgeting and forecasting, it's kind of towards making sure that all of our financial results look good. And that's what is happening over here as well. What you're getting to see is, after you've performed all your activities, the application also generates a forecasted, or let's say a budgeted income statement, using which you'll be able to see that the actions you performed in the previous steps, how all of that is impacting, and what it is leading to in terms of the overall numbers for the business. And you could do this for a range of years. So it's not just one financial year that you have to perform this for. You could do this for all the future years, or let's say a handful of years, to kind of do a strategic modeling kind of a thing. And the application pretty much, enables you to do the same activities that we've performed for revenue, but for expenses. And then you have a good financial modeling capability around balance sheet to, perform what if analysis, scenario modeling scenarios, automated generation of, a balance sheet based on actuals, and all such features, so that, in the end, you're able to, perform how the business would fare given the decisions you're taken around budgets and forecasts. It does the same for cash flow as well, which kind of comprehensively summarizes, your financial budgeting exercise, which means that for any financial budgeting exercise, you would have your revenue side, you would have your expenses side, and then, all of that culminates into your balance sheets and cash flows. So it's an end-to-end solution that covers all the aspects of, your financial budgeting. And not just that, the expenses section is quite tied up with your workforce section, which means that whatever decisions you take in the workforce modeling piece, whether that's hiring more people or increasing salary budgets, or anything that leads to a sizable amount of change, the application would automatically, send that data from workforce into your expenses so that, you have a comprehensive view of all of your revenue as well as expense aspects. So that's how the application is, quite intuitive, smart enough to, understand how all of this works. And also, it's quite connected in the nature that if someone's performing anything on the workforce side, it takes note of that, pulls it to expenses so that your overall position looks correct. So that's all, that I wanted to present today in terms of the application, its capabilities. We'd be more than happy to, demonstrate further if it's of interest to you. Feel free to reach out to us. As I said, the application has got a lot to offer, and it can achieve, better results in terms of improving your financial planning and financial budgeting process. So with that said, I just had two more things that I wanted to discuss with you. I'll quickly stop sharing because I have to switch screens. I'm really sorry about that. And yeah, I'm just starting to share the presentation that we had on. So that was, the product demonstration that we wanted to give you. The main intention of that was to show you how the product looks like, how simple it is to use, and what sort of dashboards and reporting capabilities it offers. I hope we've been able to do that. But as I said, if this interests you further, don't hesitate, let us know. We'll be more than happy to engage and provide an end-to-end demonstration of the overall product. Uh, I mentioned that I wanted to tell two more things, right? One of them was obviously how the application looks at the budgeting process. So I wanted to mention this that it's quite straightforward to use Oracle Planning to prepare your financial budgets as well as non-financial budgets. So if you look at the spectrum, it has got 7 steps. The first step is pretty straightforward, and you would be familiar with that you would begin by opening the budgets or opening the forecasting cycle, pretty much the administration stuff of the application. The step two in Oracle EPM is to review the project's life or date, cost, and value. Basically, make sure that all of the metrics of preparing budgets and forecasts, they all line up, and the right individuals are having access to all of those screens so that they're able to enter data, make changes, and move forward. After that, you would be able to assess the future costs within categories like material, labor, subcontractor, power plants, etc. Basically, all the breakdown aspects of your business, which lead into your overall cost aspect of budgeting and forecasting, you'll be able to analyze them in quite detail. Step four focuses more around, future process. Like, okay, that's all information that you have from step two and step three as of the current nature of the business. But step four kind of focuses more around future revenue. Like, okay, these are the numbers that we have today. What about the future? How would the things, how would the things change to kind of, make it either easier or difficult for us to achieve similar kind of results? And once you've done that, you'll also be able to perform profitability of projects and reports and check reports on them, which means that after you've performed your analysis, you could also perform the profitability of all of it to then align and say that, okay, yeah, it makes sense to, perform some activities because it will lead to a better benefit or, a better price to value ratio. Now, we've done fair bits of processes over here in step 2, 3, and 4, as well as 5. But then it's an organization, right? We need to have people who either vet our work or kind of give a go ahead and say that, okay, what you've done makes sense. Let's go ahead with it. And that's where the send for approval comes in. The workflow capability of the application is inbuilt, and you can create a structure that enables you to perform a workforce approval or let's say a financial approval to kind of have that validation within the organization to say that, okay, you prepared something, it was then sent to let's say the management, and the management kind of agreed with it, or even if they disagreed with it, there will be a conversation in the application around it to have a future reference point for. And finally, after you've performed all of these activities, the final step is to approve the budget and then, start reporting on it and then start performing your forecasting so that you're continuously engaging and making sure that the budgets you prepared at the beginning of the year, they all align quite well. So that in gist was something that we wanted to present to you today, but that's not all that we wanted to offer, in terms of your takeaways for the session. We also wanted to mention about, our FSO offering. And what that is actually, we wanted to mention that if, you're an organization of a certain size, and if you wish to have, Oracle Planning, we wanted to quickly explain you, how much it would cost or what sort of timelines are we looking at with respect to having, Oracle Planning being put in place. So to begin with, if you're keen on, having three processes in the application, which is the revenue budgeting and forecasting process that I showed a couple of minutes ago, which also includes operational expenses as well as income. Balance sheet cash flow obviously is a part of it. What we can do is we can offer you an out-of-the-box solution. We'll also be able to import your historical budgets forecast as well as actuals, along with the current year information. And included in our offering is 1 year historical data and financial statement reporting. Similarly, you'll be able to perform CapEx budgeting and forecasting, which also covers the leased assets IFRS 16 part, and then workforce budgeting, which would cover all of your employee and position level budgeting and forecasting, to make sure that you have a comprehensive view of all of this. To put this offering, ideally it takes 14 weeks, and we're quite flexible in our working ways. If you want us to do this on site from your office locations, we can do that. If you want us to do remotely, we can obviously perform this remotely. And for performing this project or delivering this project remotely, it'll only cost you, close to 100,000 Canadian dollars. And the solutions included obviously mentions these three areas. And within these 14 weeks, it's not just that we are putting together a solution. We're actually going to deploy it for you. We'll go live with it. And during that journey, we'll also train you on how to use as well as administer the application in future, which means that you're not becoming dependent on us after this implementation. Rather, you'll feel more confident about your overall process. And also the best part is you'll be able to manage and maintain it all by yourself. And as a gratitude, on our part for you taking effort and taking time for joining us today, we're also offering a 2-day free health assessment or a health check of, your current processes. So as a part of this 2-day free health assessment check, what we can do is whatever process you're following right now for your budgeting or forecasting, our solution architect, can help you and understand your current processes to kind of listen through your pain points and also help you on how you can resolve these pain points and move forward with a solution that's quite future proof. We also are offering assessment of our current assessment of your current processes, and then we'll offer you recommendations on how you can improve your current processes and kind of make them more in line with the standard practice, best practice solutions. We'll also give you guidance on reporting architecture, and towards the end, we'll also perform an assessment and provide you an improvement plan on what can be done to make your current solution better and kind of, improve or increase its efficiency so that, you're able to generate more outcomes out of your investment in your current processes. So that's in all that I wanted to present today with respect to, Oracle EPM as well as our FSO offering. And with that said, I'll hand it back to Rick.
Thank you, Arun. This has really been helpful, and we've got a very quick demo of the product. I think we were able to get a bit of understanding. There was a lot, as you saw, within that landing page with a lot of different areas that we didn't touch on. And if you are curious about learning more about those different areas, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to walk you through them and even schedule a quick demo similar to today in that area. Outside of that, do we have any questions? You can enter your questions into the Q&A chat area. If you don't have any questions, we'll be sharing this with all the registrants, the presentation today, and feel free to come back to us with any questions that you may have in the future. We'll also be providing a link for the recording. So if you have colleagues that would be interested in viewing this, we'll be able to have them view the recording as well. Okay. All right. Again, thank you all for your time today. It was absolute pleasure, and hope to be speaking to you all real soon. Thank you.